o'clock.
I got 59. No, I'm 5 on one or the other.
Yeah.
It's call to order. 5 o'clock. Call these park board meeting. Can we have the roll call, please?
Davidson? Jamison?
Yes.
Herman?
Here.
Miller?
Present.
Frisch?
Present.
Van Campen?
Here.
All right, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's go for item 3, the approval of the August 16th meeting minutes. Have everybody had them in the packets? Any comments, any corrections?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, state by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. So moved. Thank you very much. Item 4, public appearances. This allows the park board to have the opportunity for citizens to be able to come forward and talk to the park board. So it doesn't have to be any agenda items. It can also be other topics. And so we give that opportunity. Is there anybody present like to speak? What are you laughing at, Mr. Barone?
Actually, I'm just here to hear
All right.
Jeff's update on the park. So
Okay,
I'm not here for a
that's
comment or
fine.
anything.
I kind of
Well, thank
anticipate.
you.
Very good. Thank you for being here. It's awfully kind. Nobody else, so therefore we'll move on to item 5, reports from the village officers. Item 5A, Director of Public Works report on the tennis courts grant application and other park updates.
Yeah, let's talk about, first let's talk about the tennis court grant. We were not successful, which was frustrating. I really thought we were. I think there were a lot of applicants. I'm actually gonna be meeting with the DNR rep on that, kind of as let things settle, and then we'll meet with her probably in the coming weeks and just kind of get an idea of where, I mean, I don't know why we didn't score as high as we could have or should have, but part of the problem, and we're updating the park and rec plan, and I think if we clearly identify the specific project as one in need, I think that will help us. Of any weakness I saw in any of it, I mean, we mentioned the tennis courts and that type of stuff, but it wasn't a specific project that was highlighted through that. And so I think as we update that, we'll obviously make that a priority project, and that'll make it a lot clearer, I think. But so that was kind of frustrating because we were planning on doing that. We had $150,000, I think, in the budget for next year. I think isn't that right, Martin? To augment the amount they were getting from the grant, and obviously we will not have those full funds. So we will likely be moving that out of next year's CIP into the following year, so we can try to get that grant for the next year. So yeah, it's frustrating, but it's just like anything else. You don't get everything you ask for. So, and then let's talk about JC Park. I have a memo in the packet on JC Park. It's kind of exciting. You know, we're up and out of the ground. There's so much work that goes on with under drains and trenches and conduit and other stuff that you just never see when you drive by, and all you see is a mess, a big mud hole. So you can kind of see what is really, I have a list there of everything that's happened to date on that, and then in the coming weeks, all the things that are going to be happening coming up. They were on a great schedule for getting the topsoil down until Sunday, Sunday and Monday, and most of our gauges read about 4 to 5 inches. I've heard as high as 6 inches of rain over the weekend and into Monday. Either way, it's just a lot of rain. So right now they're just kind of drying the site out and getting ready to resume topsoil placement of that. And immediately following that will be the final grading of those fields, setting of all the sprinkler heads, and the seeding of the fields. They'll be coming in, doing the concrete plaza, we call it the mezzanine or the concrete plaza area, the flagpole plaza, concrete, all that flat work that'll go in, as well as the paving of the parking lots. You've probably seen some work going on over there. It is kind of exciting. You can see the outfield fencing has gone up, or at least not the fencing, but the poles have gone up, and the top bars. That netting will probably start to go up, I think it's Thursday and Friday this week. So it's starting to take shape. We have the foul poles up. Did you see those, Dave? And those are coming in. And then we'll start getting the landscaping and planting of trees will happen at least through October. And then the backstop pole system is going up. That'll probably be going up foundations in the next week and a half. There's a discussion because they're having to change the foundations due to groundwater problems. It's not really our problem, but it's contractors working out whether they're gonna go with their deep foundations, deep pole foundations, or actually spread like big mass block foundations and just shallower. So they're working on that. But that's gonna be a really nice system, and that's gonna be a series of 4 poles on each backstop, and that'll be a netting system that is raised and lowered. It's a lot nicer than the chain link that we've had in the past. And the construction of the pickleball courts, ongoing. Those have been graded, the under drains there. We've actually put in conduit, and for the power outlets, there's 2 power outlets that'll be in the, what do we call that area between the courts?
Corridor area.
The corridor, yeah, there'll be 2 power outlets there, whether it's for charging cell phones or if there's a PA system set up for an event or something like that, it'll just be available there. And those are going along well. The other thing to talk about is the concession stand. We've kind of re-engineered a look of a concession stand to be just a single-story concession stand. So we've taken away kind of the Tin Man look and the second story scoring area. We've been told we can save probably 25% off the cost. So it'd be probably over $250,000. Dave's going, I told you that 6 months ago, 8 months ago. You're right. Don't put that in the minutes.
No one will believe it anyway.
No one will believe it anyways. We're erasing this afterwards. But no, we were hoping for better pricing, but obviously, you know, at $400 a square foot, that was just crazy. So that will be bidding in November of this year, and looks like I have it coming in as in November of this year, with construction in 23 and completion in summer of 2023. I put in here, the big question will always be when can we play on the fields? With the planting likely occurring late September, early October, it'll really depend on what kind of fall growing season we have. If we have a nice Indian summer, we might get a great start on the grass. Realistically, the earliest we'd be playing on any of these fields would likely be mid to late fall of 2023. More likely spring of 2024, which is at least a full, usually they say a full year to year and a half from planting. So, some pictures here. Let's see. Phase 2 of the park includes the 4th ball field, 2nd playing field, playground equipment, and a maintenance shed and everything. It's still in our capital plan for next year or the following year. We would just encourage you to consider that, and you know, as a recommendation to our village board. If you want to make a formal statement from the park board, that would be nice. I'm not trying to put words in your mouths, but I think support from the park board I would love to just see us wrap up the park and finish it, because I think it's one of these things that if we don't do it now, it may not get done for a very, very long time period. So, and then I just took some photos here. I can zoom in, and this is that southwest ball field. You can see the wastewater plant in the background. This is them placing the amended topsoil on the outfield area, and you can see the infill skin area there. I walked out on those. Those are really nice, and that's coming from someone who does not play baseball. This is the northwest field, outfield right here in the skin area over here. They're doing the fine grading. It's pretty cool. If you see on these things, they actually have these GPS driven sensors on either side of the blade, and it's within a couple millimeter accuracy. So as he's driving, it knows exactly, he or she is driving, and know exactly where it is, and it's making those extreme minor adjustments to be able to get the fields at the grades that they need to. And this is outfield fencing. And then, just the parking lot, this is I'll call it the middle parking lot. The old parking lot's up here. That's gonna be closing in about 2 weeks. We have the signed message board out there letting people know of that. It'll close, that entire parking lot will get pulverized and ground up, regraded, and then all new asphalt, double layer of asphalt put on that. This will be paved at the same time, and then there's another, parking lot to the south of this one. So it's kinda neat, things are happening, it's exciting. Yeah, I mean, we'll see a lot start to wrap up here in the next couple of weeks.
So when you say outfield fencing, it says ongoing? Will
Yes.
this- So right now, there's nothing from like dugout to outfield along?
Right, that'll come in.
Just finish once they drive in and out of there?
Correct,
1,001
correct.
times?
Each field will be completely enclosed with
Closed,
fencing.
right,
Yep.
okay.
I actually confirmed that today, cause I'm like, how are we gonna keep people off of these?
Yeah, that's when I saw that, I'm like, you're not. They're
Right,
gonna put the
right.
chairs there.
Yeah, the hard part will be actually keeping people off the playing field. That's off of South Perry or North Perry Parkway. That's just the open playing field. Some people call it soccer field, whatever. And there won't, cause there's no fencing around that field. Yeah. We'll put temporary fencing or snow fencing and stuff and just have to shoo people out.
Hey Jeff, I have a couple questions. One with the pickleball courts, when will those be completed? I mean, is that this year yet?
It's our hope that they'll be done this year, but we don't know yet. It really will kind of depend on when they do the asphalt paving. There's a cure time, and then obviously the surfacing and stuff.
Okay, does that have lights around them too?
It does not.
No lights, okay.
Yeah.
The other question I have is, as far, you said tree planting, how many trees are going in and what species?
The trees are going in at the species and the number that were on the plans.
Okay,
I can dig those up for you though.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know the exact number, but we can pull it up here if you want. But
I'll look it up, that's fine,
Okay.
thanks.
I'll dig that up and send it to you. I'll send you at least the landscape plans.
Perfect,
Okay.
thanks.
It's a nice mix. We've always asked our engineers and architects to provide a nice mix of things, and they've always done a good job with that.
Yeah, I guess my hope was just that it's not one species and then, when the next
No.
bad thing comes in, then we wipe out all the trees anyway.
Our instructions to them is, never have more than 20% of one species.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Jeff? It might have covered more than
Mark,
just,
can I ask one, I know it's not
Certainly.
protocol, and I won't monopolize anything, I promise. Just a quick question, Jeff, to follow up on when the pickleball courts will be done. I understand the timing because of the surfacing, the acrylic, you gotta have the temperatures and you have to let the asphalt sit, I understand that. Will all the other major work around the courts be done,
Should
by
be.
the end of the fall?
Should be, yeah. Yeah, we don't anticipate much construction going into next year. The only construction that'll be major construction will be the concession stand, and that'll be a whole new contractor. But Fisher Excavation should be done with everything by the end of this year. I mean, I'm talking October, November.
Except for maybe the surface.
We'll see. I mean, as you know, it always comes down to surface temperatures and conditions, and yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, the concrete and the asphalt paths and the restoration and the seed and the matting, that's all scheduled to still be done this year.
If the surface gets done this year, when do you and I have to
You
get together?
can't wait, can you?
I'm sorry?
You said you can't wait, can you?
No, I'm just asking.
I don't know. I mean, I think
I
we'll
don't know how
have
much time
to,
they need, that's why I'm asking.
how much time do they need for it to rest?
To pick the colors, so they can be prepared.
Oh, the colors, we've chosen the colors. I can share those with you. They're not the orange.
I thought you and I were gonna get together on that.
No, we've selected them. They're nice colors, trust me. They're dark blue, gray, and a royal blue. Yeah,
Can
really
we get
sharp.
together and review them, because that's what you and I talked about.
Okay, I'll share the colors with you and everything like that, so, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
okay, we have 5A, 5B, the Director of Community Development Report, Community Service Coordinator.
And other random topics.
Yes, anything.
Assorted topics. So, unfortunately, I don't have anything official to share yet with the community services coordinator. I'm waiting, hopefully in the next 12 hours, to hear from the police department that the background check is wrapped up. They're just very busy and understaffed right now and going through some training over there, so this is obviously taking a little bit of a lower priority. So hopefully that gets wrapped up to get on the board for our candidate to get confirmed by the board at their meeting next Monday. If not, it'll be October 3rd, that board meeting. So she would be able to start anytime after that board meeting confirmation.
Okay.
So no concerns there, just more of a timing thing. So hopefully at the October meeting, she'll be here and we can introduce her and we'll begin her up to speed on everything. I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, but our Main Street, 249 North Main Street property reuse opportunities study, workshop, survey, that whole summary report and recommendations from our consultants at Vanderwall will be presented at our October 3rd village board meeting, so we will include that in your October meeting packet as an FYI in case you're not able to attend, and we can review that. We haven't seen anything from the results yet. They're going through all those paper copies of the surveys yet, so it takes quite a while to tally those all up, so it'll be interesting to see where that comes back, and see if that ends up having a park implication or not.
Hey Elise,
Mhm.
did you get a good response from the community
We
on that?
did, yeah, we got approximately 400 surveys back out of about 1,400 that we mailed out, so, 25%, which is pretty good for a mailed survey. Happy with the response, so I think we got a good representation from, all the neighborhoods and surrounding neighborhoods too at a separate survey, so those results will be kind of in a different category too, so we can see what the neighbors directly adjacent to the property are thinking, and then kind of the community as a whole. And then the 5-year park plan update is in our CIP. We will come with a bit of a scope of services menu to the October meeting as well, and get some feedback from you all if we want sort of the silver, gold, or platinum package. Obviously those come with different price tags, but we can kind of talk about what those different levels might involve, if that's something, there's, opportunities to have an interactive park and trail map, and it sounds fun, but is that something, we feel would be useful, or more opportunities for public workshops? There's also some cost savings and some time savings we'll probably have with, having the comprehensive plan for the village and the park plan done simultaneously, so we might be able just to send out, one community survey that asks questions about both, or have joint workshops that are about recreation, or I know, Andy, we talked last time about, trying to make sure that people who are interested in passive recreation and open spaces, that there's times that's dedicated to talking about those type of spaces versus playgrounds versus, active playing fields. And so we'll kind of look a little bit about how that, how the timing of that works out, and then what you all will like to recommend to the board in terms of which package we choose. We'll work with Vanderwall to do that plan, but it does take 12 months to do these together, so we'll aim to start in December of this year with the goal to have it adopted in December of 23, so that by January 24 we'll be operating under those new plans, and that will guide, new park investments and planning, and probably make some adjustments to our CIP just based on the recommendations that we get from the plan and hear from the community. Those are my
Okay.
updates.
All right, sounds good. Any questions from the park board? Silence over here. Thank you, Elise, appreciate it. Item 6, communication and miscellaneous business. So the update project and concession design, I think you covered most of that, Jeff.
Yeah, I was gonna show you, no. I'm getting things, okay, so I was gonna show you one option, at least that was for the building. But actually, I think we're gonna go with more of a peaked roof. I don't like this front front to back. I think it was more of a single height all around with a peaked roof going in 4 directions. I had a rendering from our architect for this look, and I liked it better. He sent me this as an alternate. I don't know if you have a preference, but it looks, in my mind, it looks a lot better when it's just, 4 directions. It's not really favoring one direction over another. We'll have 4 fields. Kind of makes sense just to be more uniform. But the building itself doesn't change. The only thing we gain is a little more storage room because now we don't have a stairwell. So, any questions on the concession building? We'll be taking away these decorative elements here that were kind of mimicking the Tin Man stuff.
Yeah, I guess I have a question, Jeff. If you're taking away the second story where you planned on having scoring, where are they doing scoring then? Are they
They'll
gonna be
be
sitting
behind in the bleachers.
just sitting in a bleacher,
They're-
plug in there and go?
They're actually a wireless.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yep.
You can see the advantage of a pitched roof because just balls flying and other things being thrown up on flat roofs.
Right,
Makes you
yeah,
get caught
well,
up.
and it's, I wish I could, that's what I've been
Is it-
looking
is
at.
it-
I mean, that picture has got a sloped roof, but a hipped roof at the same pitch on each side would be a lot easier.
It was
Right.
in the packet last night, yeah.
The 4-sided one? Packet last night, okay, I'll go find that.
Seems more symmetrical with the.
It looks
Yeah.
much better than that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought it looked a lot better
Yeah,
than
no, I
that.
really like the looks of it. That was, that looked like a,
All right.
well house somewhere. But wait.
Well, no, remember Dave, actually, if we go back, Dave wanted just what? 4 stalls and 4 walls, right? Something like that? I thought that was, we'll have to go back in there. Here.
Concession stands don't have to be pretty.
No, you're right.
They serve candy.
Oh, here it is,
at
thank you.
tournaments.
So,
there
yeah,
we
I
go.
think this is more of a,
Yeah.
you like that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, I do too, so. All right.
Great.
There's no gutters on that, is there?
Um,
I wouldn't do that, to be full of baseballs.
good point.
Gutter guard.
This is, yeah,
Yeah.
good point.
That,
It
I
does
say
have
that
the-
because I live on a golf course.
Yeah.
and, you know, it's in my gutters.
It does have an overhang, most of the building has a full 6-foot overhang,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
we've really liked on our park buildings and stuff.
That's true. You put gutters and
And,
you gotta figure out where the downspouts go.
Yeah, that too, and it'll be bashed up in a week.
Yeah, that doesn't work so well. Excellent, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The 6B, review of the Greenview Preserve subdivision preliminary plans and Meridian homes. So there's a lot that was included in the packet itself. Lots of great detail about, I guess, some photo images as well as the overall table of contents about the zoning requests and the
Mike?
zoning information. And so there's quite a bit in there as well. Hope you had a chance to kind of look at it overall.
Yeah, I could just make a couple
Can
comments
you?
on this.
Thank
So, sorry, hope you don't get dizzy here flying through all these pages, but page 46 of the packet is their park and open space plan. This is the Viridian neighborhood, north end of Mary Hill. We discussed last time. I did pass forward comments about breaking up the park space a little bit, and so they did accommodate that change. There was 4 single-family lots that were moved from the pond and open space on that kind of triangle parcel on the left-hand side, and they were
Mhm.
moved to the north end of the proposed stormwater pond and park on that end. So kind of, a small and medium-sized park versus, one big, large block, but I think that's probably fine, just given that Rustic Vineyards is right there, and they will provide some walking trail connections to Rustic Vineyards through their land. Obviously, this is just a concept plan. The 2 pages down here, page 47 of the packet, 48, is the phasing plan. So you can see that smaller park will be included in phase 1 there. And how it works is the developer will dedicate that land to the village, and unless we put something, in our CIP, for equipment, it'll just be kind of open space for now, so that might be something as we'll add these parks, of course, to our park and open space plan, but we can kind of think through what type of equipment or activities might wanna happen in those locations, and then look to,
Have we ever required developers to provide equipment?
I think just,
I don't think
kind
so.
of another way that was just an investment that the village decided to
Right,
make,
but that's,
I
I'm
think
wondering if any of
probably
the other, like, I'm trying to think of where it would have been, like,
do it for Allen Ridge.
well, like at, Windcrest out there, or whether,
That they bought equipment.
mm-hmm. Anybody have any memory of that
I
at all?
don't recall that.
Okay.
If that's something we can ask or not, but, anyway, just wanted to show you at least that space has been provided, so they'll be at our October sixth planning commission meeting for a preliminary plat, to lay out all of the streets and the lots, and then, the zoning kind of site plan approval, showing there's 3 different zoning districts going on with single-family detached houses, single-family, alley loaded, which are those orange lots, and then duplexes, which are shown in purple there. So just different setback requirements or, well, exceptions from the code that they'll be asking for, because these are pretty narrow lots that Viridian does, but they pack a lot of density into an area and lots of families, but I think we'll be providing some good connections, especially once the school property gets developed to the north. It'll provide a nice north-south connection.
Mhm.
Perry Parkway will kind of be our
Mm-hmm.
belt line. It'll
That'll
have
be our belt line, yeah.
finish the loop there, so, happy to answer any questions about where this is at, but just wanted to show you kind of the progress and the update to this plan.
Any comments from the park board?
I have some.
Andy?
You know, I'm happy to see that they added more open space over on the west side, but looking at it, it looks like over half of it is it water?
Well, so that's a required stormwater management pond. They did say, they had to update some of their stormwater calculations
Right.
because the land that the school owns wasn't originally thought to be, that it was gonna be developed, and
Mhm.
so since that's going to be developed down the road, they have to take some of that, this amount of water into consideration, so that stormwater pond got a little bit bigger. The park and open space there, it looks smaller than it probably, is. It's definitely the size or bigger than most of our neighborhood, parks with playgrounds and everything, so.
No, I'm talking about the little triangle one on the west side.
Yep,
There, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that gonna be kinda like, is it the stormwater that's kinda like behind Bethel Greenacre Park, where it's, it's not necessarily a pond, it's gonna be grass and
yeah,
waiting?
it might be, I haven't seen kind of their stormwater management.
Andy,
plan
look
yet,
at look at the site plan ahead of it, because there's actually some standing water. So if you go
Right.
a couple pages, so that would mean that there currently is some water that's standing there.
Right, yeah, and
That
that's
would
what I'm
be-
kinda, I mean,
but
it's nice that
the
they put a
pond,
nice,
that triangle space,
This
or
one?
is that a dry detention basin?
Page 43, you can see where there's the existing water
Yeah,
area, at least that.
I mean, this is a
image.
wet pond to a infiltration area.
I mean, it's nice that they made it bigger, but if it's gonna be a pond, it's not like
I'm gonna
we're
guess
gaining
this
anything
is
there?
this is gonna be a dry, probably a dry pond.
Yeah, so there's some, if you scroll up to page 43, it's the aerial image there, but, I mean, the pond wouldn't take up the whole
Sure.
space, but,
I mean, it's hard, I mean, they're just guessing what it is, but then I noticed on the,
Oh, this pond right here?
yeah.
Correct.
Oh, that's just a borrow pit that they used for material when Jim was building stuff out here.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's not a real pond.
Mhm. So I think that's, the location.
Yeah,
of
that's
that.
about the location,
Yeah.
yeah.
but then, the park where they moved, on the east side, where they moved, those 4 lots,
Mhm.
there, looks like, obviously there, the stormwater either doubled or tripled in size, so any open space there was, reduced drastically,
Yeah.
as well. Just, I mean, I printed out the the page that we had from last month,
Mhm.
it's looking at them side by side, it's, there's not a whole lot of open space.
Right. The other thing that, I think they're fine tuning is we have a park land dedication
Mhm.
requirement of a certain number of square feet, and so I made sure they had those updated numbers, so I think this plan they also don't have to dedicate that entire amount of land, so they may decide to do some in land
Fee
and
in
some
lieu
in
of-
fee.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where this is ending up again, you know, you all can pass forward comments, the planning commission can say, we feel like there needs to be more green space here, but this is right now what they're.
I think what you're saying though, you don't wanna see stormwater counted as parkland.
Correct.
Green space.
Yeah,
I
I mean, unless you're gonna put in a fishing pier or paddling access or something, I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
it's not
Bass-
parkland at that
bass
point.
paddle
Paddle
boats.
Right,
You know.
well, I don't think stormwater area counts towards our
It does
parkland
not
dedication.
does
count
not,
towards
yeah.
parkland dedication, no.
Yeah, I mean, so once you take that out of it,
Yeah,
you know,
they-
the park
they
and
look-
open space
I agree,
is
they
pretty
look shy
small.
on their park.
You know,
on their
and
park.
part of it is, hey, I'm really happy to see that path connecting to Rusty Vineyards. I'm glad they took that to heart. You know, it's nice to have all that connected, to have that community there.
Mhm.
At the bottom of that page where it says, I think, Outlot 7, where, you know, essentially where Oak Street would have been, is that like a pathway, a little green strip there? Is that a pathway going through to
Yeah.
kind of connect to, what park is that?
Yeah,
Up
to
there.
Richards Road.
Yeah.
It's a great question. I need to look.
That'd be Maryhill Park there, you know, because
So,
from Richards
yeah.
Road, there's that little path going down
One
to
of
that.
the things that I've thought about, yeah, and this, actually, it's good you bring this up, because, I'll have to check and see. I don't think this has been dedicated, over this, the area south of Richards Road it was split, and there
Yeah.
was an easement
Mhm.
for the path through there to Maryhill Park. If this hasn't, I'd almost like to see it done where we do the same thing, but I'd like to keep a path through here and also ask that they make a path from here down to here, and then we would have to obviously on our own village nickel, put a path from here down to Richards Road.
Yeah, it would be a way to connect that new neighborhood to some existing
I-
parks as
I
well.
agree completely, yeah.
Phil, do you have a comment?
Well, so we can't tell from looking at this if they're dedicating the full allotment of what they're required to, or if they're planning on in lieu of. Is that accurate?
They've not come to us yet with that, have they? The full calculation?
I don't believe so.
PL,
Again, this is just the preliminary plat, but yeah, now that we have kind of the number of lots
this
is
got
getting
bigger.
more settled,
Water,
that's part of the development
more
agreement
water,
too,
okay.
we'll work out
It's not
how much is fee, how much is left dedicated in land.
And so would that be presented to the planning commission at some point and or us?
Yes,
So
so the
we'll
preliminary
know-
plat, yeah, and then the development agreement definitely goes to the board.
Yeah, so we'll see if they're buying down or.
Yeah, and I'll confirm with them just if this is kind of where they're wanting to land on parkland too, then have
Okay.
them share those numbers for, the fee and the acreage.
Okay, great, thank you.
What I see off of this is a highly concentrated area. There's 209 lots in there. That's a lot.
Mhm.
If you look at neighbors around there, the lot size, even if you look at what they're looking for, their proposed reduction, there is not much green space for their individual homes. Some of these, they're giving an allowance that you can be 2 feet on by the sidewalks.
Yeah.
It's really tight. They're narrowing it from 6 feet to 5 feet neighboring homes. You're barely gonna be able to move a lawnmower from the front to the back. So, my experience was living in a different area where we have big yards, you know, we wanna play football in our backyards and tackle, we don't have to go anywhere else. But I lived in another community, they didn't do that. They didn't go in their homes, they had rock. But what you had is more park space you could do. And so I'm just looking at this going, even to Andy's point, is there enough when you end up having this concentration? When you got all these duplexes and you got this high concentration of people that are gonna be in it, the intention would be if you want to play catch, do you have to be in the street to do that? You know, so, how much is available? And I think in this particular case that you're looking at, so should we be pushing for more green space to be more common space in order to do something like that? Whereas, I understand the motivation here is to make affordable housing, you know, and so making it smaller, making some lot sizes, because I'm amazed at what some of the lot sizes are going for. I saw $121,000 for an empty lot. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I see the motivation here to make it affordable. You're near a school, and try to make it to work. I just don't know where you're gonna end up. I mean, you can push back into the schools and say you can go to your school. And even to Andy's point, well, if there isn't a lot of parks here, well, you go to the other parks in the other divisions where they had it. But it's just something to raise my eyes, because you start looking at the number of people, and that are gonna be living in the space as it's filled out. It's gonna be busy.
So, I have one more question, you know, in going along with what Mark just said, you know, is the market for these housing development, is it younger families, is it older people?
So they do have kind of a mix of different price points, and that's sort of the mix of the different housing types, but usually with these duplexes, they're seeing, actually went on a tour with our planning commission chair, Greg Schnelly, a couple weeks ago of two of their neighborhoods, in Verona and Fitchburg, and we got to see some of the model homes too. They said the duplexes end up being actually a lot of, divorcees with a couple kiddos, and they want to have, you know, a little bit easier space to maintain, but they still need maybe 3 bedrooms, or, you know, young families, and then they kind of have different points for people to step up. So they talk about they're in their marketing, it's sort of, you know, your first home purchase, and then your first move up, and then your second move up. So as these lots get larger, they're kind of imagining that these are families that maybe they're on their second or third house, and their kids are a little bit older. It was interesting in the Verona, the Cathedral Point neighborhood that's right off of M, just past the new Costco, and right before you cross over Highway 18 there. It's on the left-hand side, but they had a really good-sized park that was actually kind of almost like a courtyard, so it was surrounded by homes on all sides, and it was a beautiful, you know, Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and nobody was there. You know, it was in the summertime, but it was just kind of interesting to see that they did have actually quite a bit of park space, and it seemed like it wasn't utilized on a day that I'm sure I would be outside with my kiddo. But yeah, it would also be good to get some, it's probably more on the plat, but some of these measurements on the parks too, so we could say, you know, okay, let's overlay a, you know, U12 soccer field, or let's see if, you know, not everything has to be programmed athletic space. They're just kind of showing this as a placeholder, but like that green space, they're showing that park south of a playground, you know, what does that space actually look like?
Right.
What's a comparable park that we have, so we could kind of visualize, you know,
Yeah,
how
I think
usable
that would-
that green space might be.
Yeah, that would definitely help. You know, just from what you're saying, I mean, it sounds like a lot of younger families,
Yep.
a lot of kids, a lot of people looking to be outside. You know, to Mark's point, if they don't have yards, they're gonna want somewhere to go, and the last place I'd want them to do is be playing catch in the street.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll see if I can get some of those dimensions on the green space too.
That would be my interest, instead of collecting more money, making sure we get the space that's really,
Yeah,
really
that,
allocated for that.
that's what my comment was too, is this place, this development needs green space, not cash.
Martin, do you know if there's a certain ratio, like they can't do 100% fee in lieu of dedication, or they have to do at least 70% of the land and the rest could be in fee, or is that just totally up to the board to decide?
Yeah, we would have to look at our ordinance, but my initial reaction is I think it's usually up to the elected body to decide, and the plan commission to make a recommendation, and this body as well.
Well, it sounds like if anyone's given anyone direction, that's, I think, the majority opinion is without us actually voting that
Okay.
we want to
Yeah.
see more green space.
Yeah.
Is that
I'll-
fair, everyone?
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah, I'll try to get those numbers again, see where they are with their lots, what the land area is that they're showing, and then what that estimated fee is, and just pass forward that
Great.
comment that
Thank
more
you.
green space, the better up here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To go back to the Gary Dish Park, that area, when that was developed, that was a highly concentrated, and they were looking for cash to give back onto that, and it really turned out well, and that we got a big
Nice-
field, a big
nice
open
field,
space, and
yeah.
lots of green space down there.
Yeah.
Kids are really gonna be flying
They're-
down that street, though, because that's quite a pitch.
Yeah.
You go down there, the ball is not gonna end up until it goes up
Yeah,
over
there'll
it.
probably be something.
It's part of growing up.
I don't know, it's feeling pretty old trying to walk up the hill. though.
Right, right.
One
Try to
other
remember
things,
back.
one of the things that could be considered is, let's say there's fee in lieu of. That might put the village in a position where we could possibly purchase this property up here.
It's turned on its side.
Yeah, I know, it's turned, so this
Yeah,
is,
we could
Trying to
so
figure out where
north
it
is
was,
if you turn your left headlight to
Where's
the
the,
left.
subject property?
It's to the right, to the
It's,
left.
yeah, so the subject property is right here. Here's the
Okay,
cemetery.
all right,
Here's
now,
the
Turn it
all right,
90
now I
degrees
got
in your
it.
head.
This
I
is
can see
14.
the wings.
Yeah, just turn your head.
This is a,
Right, there we go.
this is owned by, the Lease family.
Oh,
And we have been pushing pretty hard on, it really, it's a land, it kind of semi-landlocked parcel.
Mhm.
And depending on how things develop, we've actually pushed for this to be a great for a, playing field center
Absolutely.
Complex.
complex. That would actually fit well, and the village board may even be willing to extend utilities to something like that, to a restroom facility, because of very low use, and it's directly benefiting the village.
yeah.
So I mean, that could maybe be funds from this could.
Well,
go to
right,
help.
that puts it in a different light if that's where those funds would go.
That's exactly right. That's kind
Yeah.
of what I'm thinking. If, okay, now you end up with 20 acres of playing fields, that solves a lot of problems
Yeah.
that we've heard from the last couple of years. So we'll see. And it's right next to highway.
Right, yeah, it's a good use of land next to the highway,
Right.
yeah. Well, thanks for that, it's good
Yeah.
additional information.
I think generally that's the feedback, so
Appreciate it.
take some of that perspective
Yep, I'll pass
as
that
well.
forward.
Thank you very much, appreciate that information. The item 6C, review of the 2023 annual park budgets and status of the 20-year capital improvement. Basically, you were talking about that. Elise, is that correct?
Yep, I think, Martin, did you include a little bit of the park budget here in your memo?
Okay.
Um, So, yep, Parks Plan, $30,000 in there as a placeholder. That's kind of on the high end of what the Parks Plan itself could cost. Phase 2, the remainder of DC Park, except for the concession stand, that's a separate piece.
Correct.
Oak Street Courts, Jeff talked about, that might get delayed for a year.
Will get delayed, yeah.
Yep, and then the dog park improvements is still in there for 10K for that, and yeah, we can talk about later how that gets distributed or what equipment is necessary, and then 20,000 for just general expenses. So does that include like wood chips and the kind of maintenance things, or is that more your
Yeah,
operating budget?
That's, no, that's part of the wood chips and other stuff that we have for,
Just ongoing
Yeah.
park expenses, okay.
So some of that's being moved into a park board budget line from general
Yeah.
budget, right?
yeah,
That's what
I believe so, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
that'd
what I
be
thought.
correct.
Okay.
So, yeah, and we're just going through the budgeting process this, October mostly here, so, those meetings will be coming up for the board. Martin, I don't know if there was anything you wanted to
Yeah.
call out on the budget memo?
Yeah, so we're just getting into the budget process now and include kind of the rough draft of our planned 2023 budgets for all of the park-related funds. So you can see those in the packet, and then I had an explanation of what all those different funds are and how they kind of come together. For operations expenses, they're not terribly exciting, and they're pretty predictable from year to year. Just, keeping the lights on sort of thing. But if there's any feedback, we would appreciate it. The big stuff is the capital improvement plan, and we've talked about that a couple times, and the board actually accepted the plan last night. There's still potential. They still have to go through the debt financing part, so, they can still pull projects out at any point up until that point. But that's what we're proceeding with right now.
Any question from the park board members?
Yes, page 56,
Okay,
fee in lieu, 103,000, are those in fact fees that have people paid down their parkland?
Yep.
Dedications?
Yep,
Okay.
so there is, I think I mentioned it here.
that was 2021 though.
Yeah, so there's, at the end of 2021, there was $377,600 in that fund.
Mhm.
So that's funds that we've collected from the payment in lieu of. So at any point when we want to make a purchase for parkland, that is where we would pull it
We
from.
would use that.
Mhm.
Mhm. And then, just for my information, or maybe others would like to know too, is, what's the typical fee per lot? Let's say at the Highlands for instance, that goes towards the, Hermanson.
Hermson?
So is there a fixed amount per lot, or
It's
is it?
very little, I think
It's
it's like
a
15.
hundred and fifty.
Is it $150?
Yeah, I
It's
think
either
so.
115, second my mind, but maybe it's
I think it's
$150.
$150, yeah.
So that's, and that's pretty much universal around the village? Doesn't depend on lot size or anything?
No, that's just for Highlands of Netherwood.
Just the
Oh,
Highlands
that's
of Netherwood
different, yeah.
subdivision.
Yeah, that was something
Each
we wrote
lot.
into the development agreement with
Okay.
the original developer for that.
And then in this Viridian development, will there be a similar fee? Or is that only if they,
No, the Hermson fee, the Hermson, well, the Hermson property kind of came to us.
Sure.
After the town said, we don't want it.
right,
And so they came to us, and the restrictions on the Hermson property are pretty strict as
Right.
far as this question of whether we could even put an outhouse out there.
Mhm.
But Mike, at the time, Mike Grace was kind of like, we should, all these houses, all these Highlands and other, are gonna benefit from Hermson Park, and what if we could just, a way to generate some capital, I think it was like
Mhm.
somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 from all the lots being sold. So that was kind of the brainchild behind that
I
one.
see.
We hadn't thought much beyond, it's just an opportunity to kind of take a little bit from each lot towards contributing to that park.
okay.
Um,
But
Yeah.
that's a unique thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've never done it on
doesn't
anywhere
get-
else, and it's,
Okay,
well, we may have done it on,
Well, I mean,
Parking
the other piece of that is, we do have the park impact fees.
Right.
Which we do collect on every single lot.
okay, so
Um,
that's where I'm going with
that's
that.
$1,999, not
That's-
2,000.
That's actually every
Per unit.
dwelling unit.
Every dwelling unit.
So, for instance, like Coil Development, he pays that for
Yeah, every apartment
49.
unit.
Yeah,
$2,000 for every unit.
Okay, that's all good information.
or Prairie Brook at 163.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a little weird, because that's also TIF funded, so we kind of maybe write our own check to
Yeah,
ourselves
yeah,
for
right,
that.
right,
But,
right.
yeah, that's actually added up to a lot of money that has helped to offset some of the building costs for J.C. Park.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And the Highlands of Netherwood debt
Debt
service
service,
is
that's
being
right.
paid entirely from park impact
Yeah.
fees.
Oh,
So it's not hitting the
Yeah, that was like one
property tax.
5 or 1.6 million for the park.
okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, so 6D, we're still vacant, our student member, and so we should look at trying to find some candidates. I think we need to probably reach out to the schools. If there's any avenue, if anybody here in the park board has any reach that we could invite any members, that would be awesome.
Geez, Mark, who are you talking to?
Don't look at me, I'm too old to know any kids.
So, Mark, so it has to be a high school student, or I mean, where does the?
Does have to be a student attending Oregon schools.
Probably high school.
Okay.
So when the agenda came out, I sent an email to two of the teachers that, like the A teacher, for example, that works with the students, like the previous ones we had were very active in her classes and stuff. We're still pretty early, so I guess if they have any, the junior, senior kind of kid, they'll touch base, but I can talk to even the principals too, to see if they have any names that would be a good fit for it and stuff like that too.
Some interest can be even in the history, some students are interested in just the politics and what goes into it, some of that could be that
Yeah,
interest as
political
well.
science maybe.
It'll be, I mean, this upcoming year will be a busy time for this board with the park plan, so it'll be kind of an interesting time for someone
Yeah.
to be on the board.
So we do want to fill that position, it's part of the obligation. Item 7, any unfinished business? There is none. New business, any assignments or anything? I don't have any in particular. Don't think anybody else has any. So any other comments that the park board would like to make and share?
I just have a couple. One, if we could just get an update at some point in a future meeting about the mowing practices, Jeff, I can't remember when you said you were gonna get through all that stuff.
October is gonna be our next,
Okay,
meeting on that, and then I'll generate a memo in November, December, and talk about it for going into spring.
okay, perfect. And then, maybe at some point, if we could talk about that whole Hermson property and just get more information about it and restrictions and maybe a tour.
Well, I mean, right now, it's not ours.
No, I
Yeah,
understand,
and-
but it's always the response I always get is, well, it's coming, or it's gonna be
Yeah.
there, so at least
So
trying to figure out what it
I
is.
think the thing we could dig up is
The deed restrictions.
The agreement.
Okay.
There was an agreement that was made with the Hermson family in the acquisition of the property and when it would transfer and such, and that has all the restrictions on
Got it.
what, I mean, it's just the agreement with the village, so I think that would have all the information
Okay.
that you would
You
need.
could pull that and put it on an agenda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Awesome. Anything else? Very good. Well, let's call for an adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So adjourned. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.